This is Renelle, and welcome to Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and friends. And here he is now, your host, my main man, Rod Brooks.
Thank you very much, Renelle. I am Rod Brooks, and welcome everyone to Quality Hang. And as always, I'm joined on this broadcasting adventure by my partner in crime, my friend. He is your friend as well, and the co-host of Quality Hang, Marcus Osborne. What up, dog?
What's up, Dr. Brooks? Just checking out a little Wemby action.
Yeah. we better enjoy what we have now as Warrior fans and observers. I, as a Rockets fan, whatever team you happen to be a fan of, you better hope they get it now, because oh boy, it's coming. And once he gets all the Infinity Stones, it is a rapidy rap. Okay, I've already seen him. You know, he went to Hakeem Olajuwon. First, he went to chill with the monks in China. All right, when we knew he was serious because he cut off his fro, he went with the baldy, right? And he was communing with the monks. Then he came back. Then he went to go see Kevin Garnett to get yelled at, but also to get that dog instilled in him. And then who's the last person he went to? He went to see the great Hakeem Olajuwon, my favorite basketball player, to get that feet work down, to get them fundamentals down, to get him with that lateral movement, to learn that and then Wemby went to him and said, presuming it sounded very, very French, like I saw what you did to David Robinson. Please teach me that. And Dream was like, I will teach you that. And then he taught him that, and now we're seeing it, albeit in just the first game of the season, but we've already seen it. And I'm here to say we are in trouble. And I've been sounding this alarm ever since he went to China earlier in the summer. And I hate to be right about this, but damn it, I'm right about this. And we are in trouble as basketball fans. It's a wrap.
Listen, I watched him do a little damage. First of all, I can't believe that people are falling for some of these up fakes and like, wow, but you kind of got to.
You have to.
Kind of got to. It's a trip seeing some of these 7-footers be dwarfed by this dude.
He put Anthony Davis in a blender. Okay.
Golly.
All right. Think what you want to think about Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis, when upright and healthy, is one of the best defenders in the league. All right. He's a big dude with long arms, and he's got defensive tendencies. Victor Wembanyama made him look silly a couple of times, and they're just not getting to halftime.
Wild, just wild.
We are in trouble. So much to get into on this Wednesday. Thanks for joining us as always. But before we get started, we, per usual, thank our presenting sponsor, the fine folks at Hot Monk Taverns. 3 locations to choose from: Sonoma, Sebastopol, and in Novato. And in all 3 locations, they all do the same great things. Fantastic food from a diverse menu, craft beer selection that is absolutely out of this world, and an entertainment selection that is as wild and as diverse as the craft beer menu and the actual food menu. So check them out online at hotmonk.com to see what they have coming up as far as shows, live entertainment, whatever tickles your fancy. And definitely go check them out in Novato, Sonoma, and in Sebastopol. Let's start with the Warriors here on this hump day edition of Quality Hang. Dubs got their season started last night by slapping around the Lakers, and that was fun to watch. Warriors 119, the Lakers 109, and quite frankly, it really wasn't that close as the score indicates. The Warriors were rocking and rolling pretty damn early in that game. And as a Warrior fan, obviously there was just so much to love. Steph doing Steph stuff. Jimmy Butler leading away with 31 points. Draymond Green got a tech with 7 minutes elapsed in the game, and he got the tech off the bench. So Draymond is in.
That was a terrible call.
I know. No, of course it was, but it's Draymond. All right, that's who we're talking about. But putting that aside, Draymond looked like Draymond out there handling business. Playing point at times, distributing the ball, and of course being one of the best defenders, not just in the game right now, but in the history of the National Basketball Association. All of that happened, and the Warriors beat the Lakers. And what does everybody want to talk about? Rightfully so. Jonathan Kuminga and what he did last night. 6 of 11 from the field, 4 of 6 from behind the money line from three-point land, 9 rebounds. To me, the most important stat. 9 rebounds for Jonathan Kuminga, 3 of them offensive rebounds. So that means more possessions, more chances for Steph to get up shots. And Kuminga finished it off with 6 assists. This offseason was all about Jonathan Kuminga. And after one game, it sure looks like what we saw in the preseason, albeit understanding that the preseason and regular season, it doesn't matter comparatively speaking. But what we saw from Jonathan Kuminga last night is what people have been hoping for a long time. And taking it one game at a time, Marcus, seeing the way that he played last night, after it being a little bit of a stumble for him early, breaking out of that and playing the way the Warriors want him to play and the way he needs to play to stay on the floor. One game out of 82, but damn, that looked really good from Kuminga last night.
Dude, it's just if you're a player with any modicum of talent, it's really easy to play in this Steve Kerr system. And he actually played better in this real game than he played in all the preseason.
Oh, yeah.
Even with a slow start where you saw him kind of start off doing the usual Kuminga stuff.
And we'll get to that.
and then somehow, some way, he pulls his head out of his behind and play the way that they've been asking him to play for the last 4 years.
Yep.
And listen, you hit the rebounds, Rod, but you know what else is significant? 6 assists.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he had only 2 turnovers. Like, stuff the stat sheet should be filled when you are Jonathan Kuminga.
And it was filled. And it was filled last night. I want to play this post-game sound from Steve Kerr, and it's a little bit lengthy, and but it's very important because what Steve Kerr is saying and the way he's saying it carries a lot of weight. Let's go ahead and roll it.
The first half, he took a couple of tough mid-range fadeaways that we don't want. He immediately held up his hand. He realized, that was not the shot. He had, a couple turnovers where he drove into traffic. And second half starts, and the whole talk at halftime was, let's use Steph Curry. Let's use his movement and put pressure on the defense. And because we didn't do that in the first half. And Jonathan, the first few plays of the third quarter, it was beautifully screen for Steph, slipped to the rim. Draymond got him a bucket. We ran our split cut stuff. They both went with Steph. He hit the wide open 3. I think he just has a better sense of what's needed now.
Couple of things here. And I want to go back to the beginning of that clip. Boy, that's a terrible place to have that video cut off. I'm sorry, Steve. I'm making you look like you're having a stroke there. That Kuminga reverted back to bad basketball habits in the beginning of the game. And as Steve Kerr said, Kuminga recognized that, raised his hand, realized, hey, my bad, I'm sorry. And then he fixed it and went on to have the very impressive game that he had, scoring 17 points. But here's why what Steve Kerr said is significant and why their relationship, I think, is now going into a better place. Because in previous years, hell, last year, okay, Jonathan Kuminga throws up a couple of let me get mine shots.
Yeah.
What happens? 2 things happen, okay, and they both run right into each other. Steve Kerr will pull him off the floor, okay, because of those 2 ill-advised shots. Steve Kerr would have pulled him off the floor. Or Jonathan Kuminga would have been like, no, I got to get mine. I got to get into the flow. I got to get these shots up so I can be in there for the rest of the game. For Jonathan Kuminga to realize the error of his ways quickly in the first half of that game, first quarter of that game, getting up those 2 ill-advised shots, for him to understand that, say to the bench, it's my bad, I'm going to do better. And for Steve Kerr to allow him to stay on the court, we wouldn't have seen that last year. All right. That's as significant, if not more significant, than Jonathan Kuminga's performance in filling up the stat sheet last night. The fact that those 2 men who have been at odds because of the way that Steve Kerr wants Kuminga to play and the way that Kuminga wants to play, for those 2 guys to not have that fight even if it is game 1 of 82, that's as or more significant than the game Jonathan Kuminga had. And the game Jonathan Kuminga had was pretty damn significant last night.
Yeah, it's the game they've been wanting him to play for 4 years. Somebody got through to him. And, a lot has been made of the fact that Jimmy Butler has sort of gotten into Kuminga's ear.
Yeah, the rest of that soundbite, Steve Kerr, the thing he said immediately after I did the edit there is what Jimmy Butler has contributed to Kuminga's development and getting in his ear. Yes.
Yeah, and I think it matters that it came from someone who was not already 100%. Inside the room, because let's face it, as much as he may respect Steph and Draymond and even Coach Kerr, it's different hearing somebody tell you something, because let's face it, inside he's gonna think, oh yeah, they're telling me this because basically they're company guys. They're gonna go with what the coach says, et cetera, et cetera. When you hear from somebody else who's your size, who's doing the things that you want to do, who's done those things in the league, it hit different. And I think it may have gotten to him a little bit.
Oh, no, you're 100% right. And it ain't a little bit. It seems like it got to him a lot bit. It's amazing with coaching and I'm talking about youth coaching, what I do. But boy, you can say something to a player on your team.
Yep.
And it goes in one ear or out the other, or they just dismiss it for whatever reason. But if the exact same thing is said by someone else who was thought of as not, not a coach, not a disciplinarian, not somebody that's on you all the time, then that same message will resonate with that player differently. That is one of the things in sports that is just absolutely true across the board. And I do think, not only, with Jimmy Butler, playing Kuminga's position, but also Butler's status as an OG and his career and how he has ascended and how playing a certain way has made him a very, very, very rich man.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff resonates with Jonathan Kuminga. I would love to have, I'm sure, the career that Jimmy Butler is currently having. And I know for a fact, even without asking Jonathan Kuminga this question, he would love to have Jimmy Butler's career earnings that are continuing to multiply.
I mean, it's one of those things that players, no matter how much they see it themselves, it's just one of those things that players don't really recognize and realize until they're much later in their careers that, oh, if I win, I'm going to make myself a hell of a lot more money.
But I have to play a certain way. I have to work within a certain structure to win. And in that soundbite we just played from Steve Kerr, listen, their main thing, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it because it's gotten them 4 championships and it's going to get them in a position to get back into the playoffs this year. Everything has to run through Steph.
Yep.
As long as Steph Curry is on the floor, everything has to run through him. Any attempt to get yours suffocates the overarching offensive point, which is get Steph involved one way or another, whether it's actually getting him the ball on the series of cuts and screens, or whether it is using Steph's, as they say, gravity, which is basically everybody paying attention to Steph, using Steph's attention grabbing to the benefit of the other 4 players on the court. When you get outside of that system for whatever purposes, especially your own selfish purposes, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting the team overall. Once you get that, and once that becomes a part of your basketball ethos, as maybe we're starting to get here with Jonathan Kuminga, everybody's going to benefit, particularly Jonathan Kuminga. So again, 1 game out of 82, but good for him what we saw last night, and good for Steve Kerr too, for him understanding I can't just yank him out after he takes a couple of let me get mine shots. I got to let this dude settle into the game. And Steve Kerr had trust in Jonathan Kuminga, and Jonathan Kuminga rewarded his trust. You know what that is, Marcus?
Yeah.
That's growth. That's what that is.
It is. And let's face it, Kerr felt that trust in Kuminga because Kuminga earned it through his play throughout the preseason, making a very valiant and a very obvious attempt to play the way Steve Kerr wants him to play.
And I want to go back, though, to the playoffs last year, because I think what Jonathan Kuminga did against Minnesota, albeit in a losing effort, Warriors didn't have Steph, but Jonathan Kuminga was their only dude. He was the only dude who could get his own shot, because as we saw, Minnesota eventually overwhelmed the Warriors. I think the way that Jonathan Kuminga played in that Minnesota series, Steve Kerr still has an expectation as to how you are supposed to play when Steph is on the floor. But I think that Minnesota series, when Jonathan Kuminga was the only guy who could get his own shot, he was the only threat on the court for the Warriors. Unfortunately for too long in that series. You got to be crazy as a coach if that doesn't resonate with you. And with the Warriors, again, being the only team in NBA history to start 4 guys over the age of 35, and for the Warriors trying to do this for the long haul, having a guy like Jonathan Kuminga and being able to work with him and nurture his talent, even if it does get sideways a little bit, it's in Steve Kerr's best interest to do that. And I really think what he did in the Minnesota series last year brought that mindset to the forefront.
Yeah, I also think that JK is realizing what many other players have noticed. Oh, if I play within the system, it actually is easy for me to get buckets.
I mean, just when we saw it last night, okay, start running through Steph. Lakers paying attention to Steph. You get easy layups.
Oh my
God.
God.
Then you're wide open in the left corner for a couple of threes. So it hit one from the right corner too, if I'm remembering correctly. The game is a lot easier when everybody's paying attention to Steph.
There was one play where they're trying to set up a pick and roll play, and Steph got the ball. Well, Steph didn't have the ball. He faked the hand. Was it Draymond? May have been Draymond, but they tried to set up a pick and roll, and Steph was on the move, and nobody went with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody stayed with Steph Curry. Literally a walk to the basket.
Yeah.
Just because both guys went with Curry. It's crazy to watch this stuff.
And he's still doing it, man. He looked like Steph Curry to me last night.
Yeah, I mean,
it's unbelievable.
And the beauty for him is that his job is a lot easier because he doesn't have to score 35 points. Every night for us to win this year.
Unlike Luka, who's going to have to score well over 30 every single night for the Lakers to have any chance against the top teams in the West and the top teams in the East. Because those Lakers last night
scored 40, still lost by 10.
Couldn't happen to a nicer group of people. Oh, did I enjoy that? Oh, I enjoyed that.
That's hilarious.
I stayed up way past my bedtime last night because I'm like, I'm enjoying watching the Lakers spin around like a top.
I gotta say this, and it makes me sound like an asshole, and it makes me sound like a hater. I'm not. I'm a firm believer in you need to deliver more than points to be a winner. Mm-hmm. Luka brings a bunch of sort of empty calories to a team. He's gonna be a great player. He's gonna play well, but there's something about Luka's big nights. I just don't feel like they win very often when he has those big nights.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they get somebody to run with him. They need a consistent secondary scorer.
Yep.
And what the Lakers have and what the Warriors don't have, and this is going to be problematic for the Warriors. The Lakers have size. It's just a matter of how they use that size, or how does that size play. And I'm speaking particularly about DeAndre Ayton. But if they cannot use their size, because the thing with the Warriors is what they lack in size and what they have in advanced age, they also have more skill than a lot of teams in the league. Obviously, the skill of Steph, obviously the skill of how they do things from an offensive team standpoint, and just their general get down. Skill, if used correctly, can give size some trouble, especially when that size is not being able to be used, and then you have no counter move. You have nothing else you can come with other than give the ball to Luka and let him score. So, it's clear what the Lakers need. I don't know if they can get it. I hope they don't get it, but I'm going to enjoy watching Luka as the year goes on, him getting increasingly more frustrated because he's going to have to carry all of the load because Austin Reeves ain't gonna be their secondary scorer, or he might be, but it's not a good option for them in my estimation. So,
as I say about many players, if such and such is your number one or number two player, you're not going anywhere. If Austin Reeves is your secondary scorer, as much as I like Austin Reeves, you ain't going nowhere because he's got his points are meaningful, but they are just points. Like he's not bringing in anything else.
Yeah.
And at some point, you got to stop somebody. By the way, Warriors defense looked fantastic.
Looked fantastic last night. Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely, it did. Let's get into the San Francisco Giants. We told you, he tried to say in English on Monday about the credible reports that the Giants were definitely thinking outside of the box, most notably Buster Posey thinking outside of the box when it came to the next manager for, Jesus Christ, Wemby. He just hit a fadeaway three where he's being knocked down. I've been screaming this since the summer. We are in trouble, and we're just like, oh, look at this. This is great. Come on, man. Anyway, Buster Posey hiring Tony Vitello. Now, the former head coach of the University of Tennessee at Knoxville men's baseball team, as they won the 2024 College World Series, but he is no longer with them, as it's now official that the Giants have hired Vitello. There will be a press conference next week. Vitello, again, 47 years old, infielder by trade, but college is the depth of his experience. He's never played Major League Baseball, never played in the minors, never coached in the minors. Obviously, has ever been a manager in Major League Baseball. This has never, ever, ever been done in the history of college baseball. So Vitello comes to the Giants with a college pedigree that is very, very impressive. But I want to point you to the bottom row here of numbers. On the left, since Tony Vitello was the manager of the Tennessee baseball team, Tennessee has produced 10 first-round draft picks. Okay? Nothing to sneeze at.
No.
Since 2021, Tennessee has produced 42 total draft picks. That's the most in the nation. And this clearly resonated with Buster Posey. And we played you a soundbite on Monday where Vitello was talking to Greg Olson on this podcast about youth sports, college sports, and developing young players. And Vitello's really, really big on changing not just the narrative, but changing the way young baseball players are developed. Vitello just does not believe it is being done in the right way. And when Vitello had a chance to talk to Buster Posey at a game in Colorado last season, clearly that, and I'm sure other aspects, but clearly player development resonated with Buster Posey. And Buster Posey released a statement today, and I want to focus on the beginning of the statement. Throughout our search, Tony's leadership, competitiveness, and commitment to developing players stood out. Okay? It's the first thing he mentions, developing players. I get it. I understand it because even though baseball is all about money and how much you have and how you spend it and do you spend it correctly, the development of players is how you get into you get into the winning mode and how you stay in that winning mode. So I understand where Buster Posey is coming from in that regard. And you know, I'm cool with the hire. I like the unorthodox swing. I think it is definitely going to energize the team. I still have questions, like a lot of people. You know, can he relate to guys in the clubhouse? You know, what is his overall managerial strategy? Get down. You know, who's going to be his bench coach? Are they going to run more? You know, how does he handle a bullpen? There are a lot of questions, but to me, I think those questions can be answered and can be answered in a positive, forward way. And I think that the what's the best way to put it? The unorthodox nature of the hire, I think, is a good jumping off point for where the Giants want to go and where they need to be as they try to get this thing on stable footing.
Yeah, I like I said to you the other day, I admire Buster Posey's um, the balls to go ahead and make a hire like this.
Mhm.
It is definitely a sink or swim thing, but we'll see how this thing turns out, dude. It's interesting that I mean, obviously development is important. I wonder how much that will be able to be done at the major league level. I think that if he was managing in the minors, yeah, you could focus more on
Mhm.
development. But when you get to the pro level, you ain't got time to be developing people. You need to be winning, and
No, that's true.
this is what stunts the growth of many young players when they come to organizations that are winning or have expectations of winning.
But
It's hard to get them in there when you got to develop, quote unquote, to develop them.
I will say this though. Okay, I got to turn this television off. I can't sit here and just watch Victor Wembanyama just do unbelievable stuff and try to have a conversation with you and do a show for people who are nice enough to watch us on YouTube and on X. Um, I hear everything you're saying, but I will say that I think that mindset of once you get to the bigs, you better know it because we don't have time to teach you. And I'm just kind of simplifying it here because we don't have time to teach you. I think that way of thinking is detrimental to young players that you are going to need and eventually have to rely on. And I think it's short-sighted. And I think that's and this is where I believe that Buster Posey is going in the right direction with this unorthodox Vitello hire, is that an older manager like Bob Melvin, and I'm just using him as an example because he's the recent Giants manager and he is an older guy. By the way, Melvin was making $4 million a year. Really? Anyway, that an older manager or a guy who's been in Major League Baseball for a while would say, I don't have time for that. You didn't bring me here to teach guys how to play baseball. You brought me here to manage a big league team,
Mhm.
to manage guys in the clubhouse, to manage a bullpen, and you brought me here to win games. You didn't bring me here to teach and develop.
Mhm.
I think that, again, I understand the whole once you get to the majors, you got to know how to play. But I think you're being not you, but I think if that's your mentality fully, you're being short-sighted and you're just not doing right by these young players who could use. Let's not even call it development. Let's call it refinement. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Let's call it smoothing off the rough edges. Learning them up a little bit about the major league game. I think if you help them through that journey, I think the benefits way more outweigh the negatives. And quite frankly, I don't know what the negatives are other than old school major league managers or old school major league thinkers saying, you didn't bring me here to do that. I don't have time to teach these young guys. They should have learned all this shit in college or they should have learned all this shit in the minors.
Yeah, I believe that what you're saying is sort of the way that most teams approach young players is
Mhm.
I'm willing to give you the time to learn certain things. I'll teach you certain things because there are there are so many things that you can learn at the minor league level, and then there's things you have to learn at the big league level.
Mhm.
And ultimately, what decides on your approach is, and I think it has to be, how important is it to your team to win right now? How much leeway are you willing to give the young player to make mistakes
Yeah.
at the major league level or at the pro level of any sport if the edict is you better win now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Are we
think
are we
that's
are we
really
talking about the Warriors and Steve Kerr again?
I'm talking
Because
about everybody. I think everybody, because you see this all the time. The reason that OKC is as good as they are is because they gave these young players time to be shitty together.
yeah. Yeah.
And you had to give them time to be shitty together because there was no edict to win right now. Had there been, many of those young players get traded for seasoned veterans.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think this is where Buster and the new manager are going to have to find some kind of balance.
Well, it's going to be interesting to because that, to me, there can't be any serious regression next year. You know, they if it starts to go badly, I mean, he's going to sign a 3-year contract. I mean, unless it just gets completely and totally goofy, he's going to see at least 2 of those 3 years,
At
if
least.
not all 3
Yeah.
of those years. But it'll be interesting to see if there is any regression and if there's any long-term regression. It'll be interesting to see what the pivot will be.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know
Or it could turn out great. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know what the expectations are. We don't know what the conversations between those 2 men has been. Listen, I don't want you to focus on winning the World Series this year. I want you to focus on having a better record than we did this past year. Everything else above that is gravy.
And maybe playing a different way. You know,
Yep.
again, I'm gonna go back to stolen bases.
Yep.
I think it's ridiculous that the stolen base has been de-emphasized in baseball, and I think it's ridiculous that the Giants are one of the worst in terms of de-emphasizing or not stealing bases. I would love to hear, you know, this is me getting baseball nerdy. I would love to hear what his thoughts are on bullpen management, and if that's not necessarily something he's down with, or if it's not a strong suit, who's going to be the guy that will be the serious voice in his ear when it comes to bullpen management. But I do think your point about next year's expectations, well, not even next year's expectations, but the next few years' expectations, is not, you know, it's of course to get to the playoffs, but not necessarily winning the World Series. Yes, everyone wants to win the World Series, but you have to be realistic here and understand what you're up against in your own league and in your own division, because as we've talked about, I'm cool with the Tony Vitello hire. Drew Gilbert played for Vitello at Tennessee, which is why I have Gilbert on the brain. I'm all about the unconventional move. I don't think his lack of Major League Baseball experience in any way, shape, or form is a hindrance for Vitello at all. What's the biggest hindrance? What's on the screen right now? Okay. Because let me move this banner here so you could get the full scope of it. The Giants are 9th in terms of total payroll.
Crazy.
Now, $178 million in payroll is nothing to sneeze at, okay? Because the Pirates ain't spending that, the Marlins ain't spending that, Kansas City's not spending that, the Rockies aren't spending that. I could keep going on down the list. But the teams that are spending and spending more than the Giants, the overwhelming majority of them are in the National League or in their division, okay? And I don't think it's an accident. Matter of fact, I know it ain't an accident. The 2 teams that are in this year's World Series, the Los Angeles Dodgers of Chavez Ravine and the Toronto Blue Jays, are top 10, 1 and 7, respectively, in payroll. For the Giants to be at 178, and for San Diego to be at 216, and for the Dodgers to be at 350, the Giants, they better get that up in the 200s, and they better get that up in the 2 teens, along with developing these young players through the tutelage of Tony Vitello, the new manager, and I believe the 40th manager of the San Francisco Giants, or the Giants franchise overall.
Well, Rod, if you go back to that last graphic,
sure,
you will see this. If I am a fan of the San Francisco Giants, I am insulted by seeing I'm being outspent by San Diego, Toronto, and Houston.
Hey.
I'm
easy.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Easy.
Those teams are not supposed to be outspending the San Francisco Giants. For years, well, maybe with the exception of Toronto, but San Diego and Houston, these were teams that were considered small market, can't afford to keep players, et cetera, et cetera. Well, how are they outspending you, the San Francisco Giants?
Well, but, you know, let's use my Astros as an example. What did they do? And they tore the house down to the studs, okay? They lost in excess of 100 games for, oh man, what was it, like 3 years in a row? I forgot. I blanked out during that period. But what the Astros did, and the Giants are not going to do this because they're not, you know, in the Bay Area, you can't do what the Astros did. Even the Cubs did it, and the Red Sox kind of did it, whereas they tanked for a few years to get some high draft picks. They hit on those draft picks, got some free agents, developed some guys, and then able to get back to the playoffs. And for my Astros winning a couple of World Series. But what the Astros did is they drafted and they developed, starting with Altuve. And then they got Bregman, and then they got a couple other guys whose names escape me at this point in time. So the Giants are not going to do anything as dramatic, but the Astros drafted, developed, then went out and started getting some guys in free agency, mainly pitchers. For the Giants, to me, it's the exact same, not the exact same, because again, they're not going to tank as the Astros did, but it is a similar course that they should follow. Now, the Giants are already ahead of the game. They spent money free agent wise, getting Matt Chapman a couple of years ago, getting Willie Adames last year, getting Rafael Devers. So they got guys who could play. They got studs, and these guys cost money. I just think that if you're really trying to get it going, and this goes back to what you said before in terms of, maybe the Giants' focus is not really on winning the World Series right now. It's about in a couple of years after they've developed the young players to the extent that they want to. Let's now then go out and maybe spend some money on some pitching. How about that?
Yeah.
Which could be beneficial to them. So I do think that this is definitely a smart, albeit unorthodox, multi-year plan that if you pull it off, you pull it off right. You develop these guys in conjunction with spending more money, most notably on pitching. You might be cooking with gas, but $178 million and everybody else is in the 200 millions. That ain't gonna get the job done. That ain't gonna get the job done.
Cut it. Ain't gonna cut it. And let's be honest, this fan base is pretty forgiving. You're not living in New York. They're pretty forgiving. If you show that you're out there busting ass and people take a liking to you, people will show up and they'll watch you.
Yeah, they reached their limit with Kapler, and then they reached their limits with Bob Melvin.
Mm-hmm.
So reset button has been hit. Understand that social media is not real life by any stretch of the imagination. Pardon me, got the hiccups. But for the most part, people are, once the shock and surprise wore off in terms of Vitello not having any Major League Baseball experience, they're again, it's in Buster we trust. Buster Posey says this is cool, but then they're cool with it. So the reset button has been hit, I think, with Giants fans, and they're all aboard until they get a reason or reasons to think differently. So like I said, it's going to be interesting. And I think this guy's going to do really, really well. Vitello is going to do really, really well. Not that this is of great import compared to all the other things that are important to a major league manager, but I think Vitello is going to play real well here with the media and just his general overall get down and demeanor. I think people are really going to get on board with it.
Pull up Jason Battle's comment there, and I think you kind of touched on this, Rod, when he talks about how the manager's supposed to develop a player. Isn't that on the player and the training staff? Don't you need to play to develop?
Yes, you do. But I think you can also, here's the thing about baseball, and what I love about baseball is that baseball is the most cerebral out of all the games. Yes, you need to be of a certain intelligence to play football and basketball and hockey, to play all the sports at a high level. But baseball, because it is so situationally based, and I'm not just talking about team situations, but just an individual. Okay, what am I going to do in this count when I'm at the plate? What am I going to do in this count when I'm pitching? What am I going to do in this count when I'm a middle infielder or an outfielder, or relief pitcher? It's all of it is based on how you see the game, how you think the game. And I think while baseball is, yes, being able to hit, being able to run, being able to throw, being able to pitch is extremely important. How you think the game is right up there with it. They say 5 tools. To me, it's 6 tools. The one between your ears is it's just as important, if not a more important muscle than biceps and quads and hammies and all that kind of good shit. So I think when you have an organizational ethos, and I will give old boy that was there before Melvin, I will give him credit because this is what he tried to do before. I remember doing an interview with him on KNBR, and he said that he was okay with the majors being almost seen as quadruple A, where bringing guys up and then having them sort of learn on the fly and learn what the organization's baseball ethos was, like that he wanted to draft and develop in real time. Problem with Kapler is that guys stopped listening to him. He didn't communicate necessarily well or effectively when it got down to it. And just the whole back and forth of the lineup machinations and guys going back and forth from Sacramento, AAA to the Giants, that shit just got old after a while, especially when you stopped winning after 2021. But I do think how an organization views how you play the game is just as important as actually playing the game from a physical standpoint. Does that make sense? And so clearly Buster Posey has an idea as to how he wants the Giants to play. And that vision lines up with how Vitello sees, how he sees young players and how they are being developed, good or bad, coming out of college baseball, which is where you are now getting players just as much as you are getting them out of the majors and being longtime Major League Baseball players.
You know what? I would love to hear the story of Gabe Kapler with the Giants. I guess I'm one of those people who didn't think he was that bad. I felt like he got kind of a raw deal. I felt he got played by having 1 year that was so singularly good that you can never reach. That team was never as good as that record, and I think that kind of put in everybody's mind that they should be ready to take the next step. They were never as good as 100 and some odd victories.
He put aside how put aside what the media thought, because we don't matter. We don't. I think yes, from a good amount of fans. The further they got away from 21 and the worse they looked, the more it seemed like an outlier and the more it seemed like a fluke. So he couldn't coast or ride. I don't want to use coast. He couldn't ride on the strength of, hey man, 2021 was a damn good year. And they were a bullshit check swing call away from I think knocking the Dodgers out, quite frankly.
Amazing year.
In that division series. And because he was so unorthodox, Kapler was, and because he seemed through the media, he seemed almost disingenuous at times, and he seemed like he was almost distant in his conversations with people. That poisoned the waters, for lack of a better way of putting it, in terms of how people outside of the Giants clubhouse viewed him. Okay. Now, and I've had this conversation with people whose names clearly I will not mention. Giants players didn't like him.
That's what I want to know about.
Particularly pitchers didn't like him.
Interesting. Why didn't you like him?
Couldn't, because they felt like, and I think tactically, I think Gabe Kapler was a good man. He's better than Bob Melvin, okay? Especially when it came to bullpen management. Very much better than Bob Melvin. But he communication, and this is where I think the questions about Vitello, his ability to communicate, I think these are legitimate questions. Not enough to say, well, because he's never been in the bigs, he can't relate to these guys. He can't talk to them. So why are you even hiring him? I don't think it's that cut and dried, but being able to effectively communicate your thoughts and ideas as a baseball manager, your get down to players is extremely, extremely important. It's important through all sports. Yep. And if you can't do that, if for whatever reason they start to tune you out, then it's a wrap. And I mentioned this before, that whole pulling guys in and out of the lineup, they hated that. They hated it because it felt like guys didn't get a chance to sort of sink or swim, hopefully more swimming than sinking, by their own talents. it seemed like they felt like they were being yo-yoed. They felt like they were being played around. And I know particularly pitchers that are still with the Giants didn't like, and they weren't victims of this, but they didn't like guys being on a shuttle from Oracle Park to whatever the name of the park is in Sacramento to go to the River Cats. Like they would just be back and forth back. They absolutely and completely and totally hated it. And because they hated it so much and they weren't winning, guys just completely and totally tuned him out. And to use this catch-all term, he lost the clubhouse, and he wasn't Buster Posey's dude anyway. So,
and also, I mean, how much was Farhan involved in this? Like, how much power did Kapler really have? Which is also one of the things I kept hearing about.
Well, I mean,
Farhan was kind of really the one pulling the strings.
Well, I mean, they had, and this was Buster Posey's first course of action, and this is why people, I mean, they dug him because he's Buster Posey, but putting aside he's Giants legend Buster Posey, they dug the fact that they got rid of the analytics office that was inside the fucking clubhouse of the Giants. If you walk into Giants clubhouses, I'm looking at the camera. On the left side, as soon as you breach the doors of the clubhouse, okay, you push those double doors open. On the left side, the first thing you will see is the manager's office. Right across the hallway, okay, the doors are behind me now. Right across the hallway from the manager's office was just a room, okay? Before it'd just be a couch in there, it was just kind of a room where general manager would come in and he'd hang out there for a little bit because you don't want to go into the inner sanctum, if the player's clubhouse, if you don't have any actual business in there. And that goes for the general manager as well. They leave that to the players. But that would be just kind of somewhat of a communal area. When Farhan was there, that was the analytics office, okay? To have the analytics people, to have the nerds in the clubhouse.
That is hilarious.
Across the hallway from the manager. Come on, dog. So that's a bad look to begin with. So but the Farhan thing, to me, it's separate than Kapler. Because yes, while Farhan and Kapler were, in cahoots in terms of working together to craft a strategy, whether it's an offensive strategy, a lineup strategy, or a pitching strategy, Gabe Kapler was still the dude that was in charge of effectively communicating that strategy to the players, and he wasn't effective at it, especially as they got further and further away from the success of 2021. So there you go.
Interesting. I want to hear that story.
Yeah, I'll tell you the players, but they after a while they just got tired of Gabe Kapler. They didn't bang with him no more.
You have to really lose them after, what was there, 3 years?
I thought it was 4. I don't remember exactly.
Maybe 4. But that's pretty fast for the players to get sick of you.
Yeah, well,
pretty speedy for that to happen.
It happens.
100%.
It happens. All right, moving on. Let's get to the Niners here real quick before we get to on this date and the best thing I heard today. Real quick, Niners first practice in advance of their game against the Texans on Sunday. And, of course, it is all about injuries. Brock Purdy still dealing with that toe. He's out there. He's working out, but he's not practicing. He's not running the team. He is still limited. Ricky Pearsall, Huff, and now Diamador Lenore dealing with a quad injury. All of those guys were relegated to side work, and Pearsall and Huff are not going to play, and Brock Purdy is not expected to be up on Sunday against the Texans. Diamador Lenore, that's the newest, that's the latest injury news that makes Niner fans want to bang their head against a brick wall. The severity of it, I do not know. So tomorrow will be very interesting, and we will definitely know by Friday Diamador Lenore's status for the game on Sunday against the Texans. But his quad injury is the newest injury designation for the Niners. So, one step forward, big step with a win, and take a step back when it comes to injuries with Huff and now Diamador Lenore. So that's Niner football in 2025 in a nutshell. What are you going to do?
That's it. What are you going to do?
Drink heavily. That's what you do. Drink
Hey,
heavily. Yes, sir.
You know what? We did hit on that other game from last night, the Rockets and OKC.
I mean, there's really no reason to talk about that. We can just move on. No, Rockets need a point guard. That Fred VanVleet injury, the Rockets are clearly an extraordinarily talented team, especially now that they have Kevin Durant. And their size is going to give people problems. Alperen Şengün was absolutely fantastic last night. The Rockets are going to be a fun watch. But for Kevin Durant to not get the requisite amount of touches in the second half, yeah, could Durant have been more vocal and forceful? Sure. But to me, that points directly to not having a point guard. And Fred VanVleet tearing his ACL is going to be a problem for the Rockets this year unless they get themselves another point guard because Reed Shepherd ain't it, baby. Reed Shepherd ain't it.
And, I mean, it was a great game. I hated having to turn away to catch the Warriors, but it was a great game. And I'll be honest, though, booing Kevin Durant is kind of lame at this point to me. It's been almost 10 years, man. Now, you got to move on at some point.
I mean, but fans, they're not rational. And fans can definitely be lame. Yeah, I mean, the people in Seattle booed George Springer when he got hit on the knee, and then, not booed, but cheered when he got hit on the knee. Oof. And what did that get him? That got him a 3-run homer off the bat of George Springer, and now the Mariners are still the only team to never make it to the World Series. But yeah, if there's one behavior trait that fans unfortunately exhibit on the regular nowadays, it's being lame. And yeah, booing Kevin Durant is lame. Like that happened. He's gone. You got a championship. Why you tripping? Move on.
Facts. I want to pop one more thing out.
Please.
Here's what I love last night. I actually mentioned it on social media today is I love the fact that NBC treated the games like they were important. The entire production was fantastic. And as I said, like it's easy to get, caught up in Charles and Kenny and Shaq, and they end up overshadowing the games more often than not. NBC went in going, we're going to treat this as if this is the NFL, and the games are going to be the story. Every story is going to be about the games. Mm-hmm. We are going to be furniture. We're not going to be the company. And I love the fact that they handled it that way because they produced it like it mattered.
Yeah. I mean, all they had to do is just do the opposite of what ESPN does on a nightly basis. Make it about the game. Don't make it about your personalities.
Yeah, facts. Now, we do have some issues with that studio show. I mean, I like Maria Taylor a lot, actually. The rest of those guys, I guess they're going to have to grow on me. It's weird that they don't have anybody who actually has won a championship on that thing. That's odd to me. I looked at all those Carter, Carmelo Anthony, and oh my God, with the handle. Name escapes me. But all three, none of those guys ever won.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I just watched the game. Yeah. I'm like, you can all these pre-game shows.
It's just weird to me. Like when the postseason comes around, it's going to be fair for people to hear those dudes talking. People to go, what do you know?
Well, isn't that what they're paying Michael Jordan for?
No. They're paying Michael Jordan to be Michael Jordan. Ain't no way you get nothing out of Michael Jordan.
No. I'm not saying necessarily to analyze the game. I'm saying that's the guy who, like, you want to talk about a guy who has won championships? Sure. We got a canned Michael Jordan interview that we're seemingly going to stretch out over the course of an entire NBA season. Tracy McGrady. Thank you, Joe. It was Tracy McGrady you were referring to.
Tracy McGrady.
Yes.
Tracy McGrady.
Yeah.
Oh, God, just those guys are just oof.
Yeah, I missed it. I came in about midway through the second quarter last night, so I didn't see their pregame show. But your point of view, your analysis of it seems to line up with the majority of people's analysis. That
really,
it was all right.
Yeah,
it was nothing to get excited about. It definitely needs to marinate a little bit more. But it was a whole lot better than one guy screaming at you and making a whole goddamn show about himself. Yeah. I'm just not going to mention his name. I'm just going to treat him like oops, I said his name. I'm just going to treat him like, I'm going to treat him like that. I'm not even going to say his name because that's what he wants.
Facts.
That's what he wants. But yeah, man, it is good that the NBA is back and we are in that sweet spot sports wise where Obviously, college and pro football thing. I mean, Victor Wembanyama is kicking the Mavericks' ass. I believe he's got close to 40 points.
Dude, he had
Right
20
now.
in the second quarter. So
Yeah. I mean, he is giving them the business. But college football and pro football, obviously, percolating. World Series starts on Friday. If soccer is your thing, European, La Liga, Champions League, we are getting that. I think we're actually going to get some World Cup qualifiers too. Hockey is back, if that's how you get down. And again, the NBA. I'm going to say it again. The spring sports, April, hey, man, late March, early April, March Madness, the Masters, the beginning of baseball season. That's fine. Ain't nothing beating October. Ain't nothing beating October. Nothing. Nothing.
Solid.
Nothing. Absolutely.
Solid.
Let's get to some on this date. On this date in 1969, the mighty Led Zeppelin dropped their second album, strangely named Led Zeppelin 2. How did they come up with that title? Led Zeppelin 2, obviously. Classic. Whole Lot of Love is on Led Zeppelin 2. Ramble On, Moby Dick, I think. What Is and What Should Never Be. Led Zeppelin 2, Stone Cold Classic, baby, came out on this date, October 22nd, 1969.
Yeah, man. I mean, they are pretty much the blueprint that everybody else kind of plays from at this point, aren't they? Like
Zeppelin, baby.
Yeah, rock music as we know it today, pretty much they're the blueprint of it.
Yes, yeah. The Beatles started it, and Led Zeppelin, with some blues riffs and blues songs that were lifted, and they didn't give the proper people credit. Talent borrows, genius steals. I guess you could look at it that way. And Jimmy Page is
always acknowledge
genius. Yeah. They definitely acknowledge. Eventually, they didn't necessarily acknowledge with any money, but
that is the other part.
Led Zeppelin ain't the only ones to not acknowledge with any cold hard cash. But the Beatles, they were the first ones, and then Led Zeppelin came along and turbocharged it. We talked about this, when Sly Stone passed away a few months ago. Can you imagine hearing Whole Lot of Love for the first damn time?
It's a trip, dude.
Like it's so ubiquitous now, and it's been that way for 50 some odd years. Think about it. But if you can for a second, just put yourself in the place of somebody on this date in 1969, going to the record store. What's a record store? Ask your grandparents. Going to the record store, buying Led Zeppelin 2, going home, putting it on the turntable, and the first thing you hear is Whole Lot of Love.
It is.
Come on, dog.
It is the curse of originality is what plagues so many of these artists, because people hear that now and they go, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
You wasn't there. You wasn't there when it first hit. Wasn't nothing else like it. It's a big deal. It's nothing now because everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
You wasn't there at the beginning.
It staggers the thought process if you really take a moment to think about that. There was a time before Led Zeppelin, and there was a time before A Whole Lot of Love, and people heard it, and it had to have rewired some people's brains on this date. In 1969. On this date in 1976, the cinematic classic Car Wash was released in theaters. Car Wash, baby.
I have seen that movie so many times.
Of course you have.
So many times.
Yeah.
I live to see Richard Pryor as that preacher.
As the preacher.
Oh my God, it makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so good. I can't even lie.
Oh man.
Everything about that movie is it's I don't know how to explain it to folks.
It's a classic. It's classic. And we don't get these movies anymore, but it's a great ensemble movie. And just as we were talking about, hearing Led Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin 2 for the first time in 1969. You imagine going to a theater on a Friday night, 1976, and you see George Carlin, and you see,
Dude,
you see Richard Pryor,
that's
as you mentioned, and you see,
that's
you see Antonio Fargas, you see Huggy Bear from Starsky
yes.
and Hutch, like, the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. You had these movies where it were stars from all over the place, and they would all come together to be in this one movie. And even if it was for a scene or two, they would come in, deliver a memorable performance in a scene or two, and then bam, they'd move on, and it would move on to the next plot point, and it would move on to the next, to the next star. They don't make movies like that anymore. And I think Car Wash was the best example of one of those great ensemble comedy movies.
Yeah, people don't even understand like the faces, particularly folks from the Black community. When you
Mhm.
saw these faces in these
Mhm.
movies,
Mhm.
Pointer Sisters, I think was Flip Wilson in there?
Yes, yes, yeah,
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 and Garrett Morris was in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Who else? Obviously, Melvin Van Peebles, Antonio Fargas, Bill Duke.
Yep,
Obviously, Richard Pryor, Franklin Ajay,
yep.
who, if you are a young person, you don't know who he is. Franklin Ajay was one of the funniest stand-up comics of the
Legendary stand-up
that
comic.
dude is so funny. He has a bit about the Olympics that is classic.
Yep.
Talking about coming in last, that's so good. So good.
Yeah, man. So many memorable performances and so many memorable stars in that movie. Car Wash, legendary soundtrack too, by the way. Car Wash
Yes.
came out on this date in 1976. Going all the way to 2002, one of my favorite bands released one of their most
Hey,
famous albums, the Foo Fighters,
hey.
released One by One on this date in 2002. Foo Fighters' fourth album, and this includes two of their best songs, All My Life and Times Like These, are
I like
contained
this
on
great record.
One by One by the Foo Fighters. Came out on this date, October 22nd, 2002.
Yeah, that is a good. Times Like These is such a good record.
It's a great song. Great
Such
song.
a good record. You know who's a big Foo Fighters fan? Prince, gigantic Foo Fighters fan.
Yeah, he did. Did he do Best of You? Was it at the Super Bowl?
Yes, he sure
Yes.
did.
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
did. He
Yeah.
played that song regularly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's his face? Golly, our lead singer
Dave Grohl?
Dave Grohl has a great story about Prince asking him to come to.
Come and jam. Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so funny.
He jammed in an empty arena. I think it was the Forum. Jammed in an empty Forum with Prince. And
Yeah.
Prince is like, yeah, we should do that again. And he never saw Prince again. It's the most Prince story of all time.
Dave said, and then he was gone. Which is
Then
what
he was gone. He was
every Prince story ends that way, and then he was gone.
By the way, Victor Wembanyama has just hit the 40-point mark. 40 points on 15 to 21 shooting, 15 rebounds.
Woo! 15 to 21. Wow. 15 to 21.
I tried to warn everybody. I tried to tell you.
Can you if this dude ends the year with a 70% field goal percentage? Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's a wrap. It's over.
Are you kidding me?
It's over. The OKC better get another one as quickly as possible. Rockets better get one as quickly as possible. The Warriors better get it one as quickly. The Nuggets, you better get you quickly as possible.
Why wouldn't you just alley-oop every single time?
I mean, you could, but you don't need to, because he has an array of moves that he has already demonstrated tonight, and he's barely broken a sweat, for God's sakes.
Gracious me.
So yes, Foo Fighters released their fourth album, one of my personal favorites, One by One, on this date in 2002. A couple of things happened on this date in 2012. Kendrick Lamar released Good Kid, Mad City. Yes, sir. Yes,
Great
sir.
album.
Who
yeah.
knew that the young fella from Compton who released this classic album would eventually deliver the death blow to that little light-skinned boy from Canada? Who knew? Who knew? Maybe we should have seen the signs on this album, Good Kid, Mad City, released on this date in 2012.
Man, such a good album.
Oh, yeah.
Such
Great
a
album.
good album.
Great
Money
album.
Tree is such a great song. Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yes.
I keep that song in my rotation.
An absolute genius, and we should have seen it coming. Maybe we did see it coming.
Yeah.
All the way back in 2012 when Kendrick Lamar released Good Kid, Mad City. Staying on this date in 2012, Giants fans, this will warm the cockles of your heart, maybe even the subcockles. It is when the skies opened up and the Giants went back to the World Series.
That should end it. And who else? Scooter-O. And the Giants have won the pennant. 9-0 the final in Game 7.
Ah, yes, the good old days. Hey, look,
And the
where's
fans
coaching?
here in San Francisco finally have a chance to celebrate with their Giants.
Well, thank you very, very much, Tim McCarver. Yep, Giants won the pennant. Marco Scutaro caught that infield pop-up in the driving rain. You could see it was starting to puddle on the field, but obviously that game was in no danger of going to extra innings with the Giants having 9-0 lead. And again, Scutaro, that pop-up in rain is always going to be replayed finally in the minds of Giants fans. They went back to the World Series the second time in 2 years and eventually beat the Detroit Tigers to win the second title for the city of San Francisco.
Dude, you know what's funny? That A's to Giants, Giants to A's pipeline. Seeing Marco Scutaro up there, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How many guys went from the A's like he did to the Giants and vice versa? For decades, we shared players. It's really interesting to see at this point. A's.
Yeah, man. The good old days for the Giants. Giants going back to the World Series on this date. Marco Scutaro catching that pop-up in the rain.
That was another year. It could have been another Bay Bridge series. Could have been
That's right. Was that the year that Giambi didn't slide? Was that the year the Jeter flip, or was that before?
2012. No, that was after.
Okay, it was after. Okay.
Matter of fact, I think that was the year that they made that. They lost to Detroit, I think.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
And they made that big comeback from like 10 games back or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, they blew it. Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to bring up good memories, and all of a sudden now your bad A's memories flooded back. I didn't mean to.
They are bittersweet memories because the A's won a lot in those years. So, I mean, they're good memories. It's just they're not here anymore. That's the bitter.
There you go. On this date, October 22nd, Led Zeppelin released Led Zeppelin 2. Car Wash premiered in theaters. Foo Fighters released One by One. Kendrick Lamar released Good Kid, Mad City. And Giants go back to the World Series.
Those are good ones.
This date in 2012. Yeah, man. My favorite part of the show is doing on this date. We always end with the best thing. It's either the best thing I've seen today or the best thing I heard today. Today, it is an auditory gem. Speaking of the Foo Fighters, the best thing that I've heard today is a snippet of a song that the Foo Fighters are going to release tomorrow. Want to hear it? Sure you do. Let's go. Sounds like a Foo Fighters song to me.
I like. Okay, that sounds like it could have been a song from any era.
Dave Grohl screaming his balls off.
Yeah.
There's a wall of guitars, and the drums are at the forefront of the mix. The name of the song is "Asking for a Friend." They just dropped the snippet this morning. The song will be released tomorrow. I don't know if there's an album coming out. I do know the Foo Fighters have done a couple of shows in Japan, and I believe they got one coming up in Mexico if it hasn't actually taking place. But my guess would be, Marcus, that yes, there seems like there's an album forthcoming. And me being a very big Foo Fighters fan, I am here to say I am here for it.
Be interesting to hear how autobiographical these songs may be.
If there's a song about baby mamas in there. How real will Dave Grohl get?
Hey, I'm just asking it. How real we getting? How real we getting? Jay-Z did it. It may be time for Dave to do one too.
Will there be a song that makes a vague reference to divorce? Well, you know what? We're all going to be waiting.
That's right.
It looks like we're going to get something from the Foo Fighters.
They stayed together too, didn't they? They sure did.
Dave and his wife, yeah.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. Good for those crazy kids working it out. A new Foo Fighters song coming out tomorrow. That's the best thing I've heard today. Pretty excited about it.
Sweet.
Excited about it. All right, let's get on out of here on this Wednesday. We'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, the fine folks at Hop Monk Taverns. Make sure you check them out in Sonoma, Sebastopol, or in Novato. Better yet, check them out in person. Get your belly full with some of their fantastic food from their diverse menu. Get your drink on with their craft beer selection that is absolutely out of this world. And you get your laugh on. They have stand-up comedy nights, open mic nights. If you think you got jokes like that, why don't you go to one of the open mic comedy nights or the open mic music nights? You get touring acts from around the country. You get local acts that are always prominent at all three Hop Monk locations in Sonoma, Sebastopol, and in Novato. They have trivia nights. They have country line dancing nights. I'm serious business. Whatever you're into entertainment-wise, you can find it at Hop Monk, or you might find something that you didn't know you were into, and you found that out by checking out Hop Monk. So see what they have coming up, entertainment-wise, concert-wise at Hop Monk. Check them out online at hopmonk.com. Follow them on all the socials, but more to the point, make sure you stop by and see Dean and all the folks in Sonoma, Sebastopol, or in Novato. I'd say, Marcus, we did the damn thing.
We did, man.
We most certainly did. All the folks in the comments, the Quality Hangers, thank you very much. We see you, we acknowledge you, and we thank you for being a part of this show, because we couldn't do it without you. We wouldn't do it without you, and we do it for you. So, serious business. Thank you so much for your patronage. All right, my man, let's talk on Friday. How about it?
Let's do it, baby.
We will get the folks into the weekend. Everybody, have yourself a fantastic rest of your night and have a great tomorrow. And as always, be good and be good at it. We'll see you.